Anywho, right, okay, what up, you two? Right, so first of all, okay, I just need to give a shout out to Jam Noise 72, to all my new subs as well. Alright, I appreciate that massively. Alright, I'm building up quite a substantial count now, but keep it coming. Alright, appreciate it. We've been having some really good conversations as well. So, Cookie, you as well, Dan, is it Dan and Rob? Alright, I'll raise one to you, and of course to all my existing guys as well, and girls. Alright, okay, cool. Now, I am gonna fucking tear into this one big time because I've had enough. I have had enough of just pretty much the peak stupidity now. Alright, it's gone above and beyond a fucking joke at this point. But there is a disclaimer that I have to give. Alright? I'm not anti-vax. Alright? I'm certainly no weird one of these conspiracy theorists, alright? You just have a look back through my channel, you'll see that. If you feel that you need and want to take that medicine, then go ahead and do it. That's on your risk, be it, but if you feel that you're going to benefit from it or it protects your loved ones, and I know people and I've spoke to people that have, and that's their choice. I'm not against that. I myself, I've had many vaccines for, many preventions, such as yellow fever, tetanus. That's just a name too, but yeah, you get medicine for all sorts of conditions, right? Typhoid as well, dengue fever, all right? But I know what's in that. Right? I'm confident that I can make an informed decision. Right? And I've even had to have shots for rabies when I was bitten. Which is not nice because that's a series of quite a few jabs. Alright? When I was bitten on my travels by a fucking suspected animal. So it's horrible and it's nasty, but there you are. Alright? So I need to get that one said. Now, this OMICRON thing. OMICRON. Let me get to something here straight away. We have a government, right, that is being run by, well, you know the whole thing going on with Boris Johnson. A guy that in every single fucking position he's had, he's either been investigated or fired. His father went on record a few years ago and even said about the British public not being intelligent enough to spell the word Pinocchio. Alright? That was Boris Johnson's father, Stanley, who again has been now implicated in improper conduct with women. Right, so let's set the scene of who we're dealing with here. Alright? Boris has, 7 children? I think it's more than that. I think it is, and I will probably cover that one at a later, but there's more to that. Right, and he himself cheated on his original wife. You've now got Matt Wancock, right, the guy who's the former health minister, who's still to this day pissing people off, right, with his comments about learning difficulties and him apparently having them. Yet he was in an electable position like that as a health minister, who broke down broke on lockdown regulations himself and was messing around inappropriately. Gets better now, we can turn our attention to fucking Professor Pantsdown. Neil Ferguson. Yeah, you know when these lockdowns first came about? It was his model that facilitated that. Fucking Professor Pantsdown. We call him that because even though he said that we all need to lock down, what was he doing? He was running around all over the fucking country with someone else's woman. You see how this is looking. Then you've got Chris Whitty. Now, I don't know an awful lot about him, and I'm not here to judge him in many respects, but I think we do need an inquiry into him. Aside of the fact, though, personally, from how I personally see him, he looks like Skeletor. You know, Skeletor from He-Man. That one. And the guy doesn't really blink much. He might well be a decent, upstanding person, I don't know, but again, what's the story with him? What's going on here? Public inquiry time. Who are these people? Who are they funding and who are they being funded by? What is their agenda and their intentions? Because when you have, say for argument's sake, Professor fucking Pantsdown, right, who's the so-called expert, who's doing the things that he is, well then I think we need an investigation then into his financial life. What other dealings has he got going on? Bearing in mind, he's also, apparently, I've not fact-checked this one properly, but I will do, he's the same guy that was doing the whole foot and mouth thing. That led to government culling of a whole bunch of animals. Unnecessarily, apparently so. This aside, though, there is a question. We were told, right, 3 weeks to flatten the curve. 3 weeks. That was over 104 weeks ago. All right? So in that case then, on a time scale, well, this government are out by over 34 and a half fucking times. How the hell can you trust the reliability of these scientists that can be out by such a major margin? How? To be out by that much is astonishing. Alright? It also now gets even worse, because you remember the whole clap for carers, clap for NHS. Yet the same administration, same government, is now saying that unless you take your 2 or 3 pricks, however many it is, well, you're out. Is it 2 pricks, 3 pricks, however many? So in other words, the government now is saying to these NHS workers, well, unless you take the jab, well, you hightail it out. You're not welcome to work here. But at the same time, you're led to believe now that there's going to be a strain on the NHS. But yet, the government have no problem in saying, well, then in that case, 100,000 plus workers for the NHS are going to be gotten rid of. I want answers to this. As do a lot of people. I want fucking answers because the figures don't add up. Then there's the whole thing of if you die within 28 days of a test, all right, a positive test, then you're marked as a COVID death. Well, there's problems with that one. So you take a test, all right? Let's just say that you're a scientist. You take a test, you test positive. You go running around and you fuck with somebody else's missus, and you have a heart attack, and you die. Well, then you're treated as a COVID death. How? How is that? What about all the media pictures that circulate with so-called healthy people that contract these variants, and they're so-called healthy, end up either on life support or dead, but yet when you look at the pictures, these people are not exactly looking very healthy. Yet you're also not told about things that you can't judge, such as overactive immune systems. Right. Now, yes, okay, I smoke and I drink, and, well, that's down to me, I guess. And I actually also do have asthma, so yeah, I'm pretty stupid for that, I guess. But yeah, this hasn't knocked me over. Yeah, I know I've had it. But then again, my immune system works correctly. But that's something for another video, I guess. We'll start looking at the immune system and how you get runaway reactions. Right? We'll do that later. But these are important questions that all need to be asked. I need correct facts and figures. How many people now are getting this Omicron, or Omicron as I call it, and are succumbing? How many people are dying directly of this and directly from it? Because the numbers still aren't adding up. Yet, the government are trying to say, well, it's spreading like wildfire. Oh, well, it's risking the NHS again, but yet, what happened to these Nightingale hospitals? Why don't we have them? You remember the whole Nightingale thing? Well, the Excel Centre, I think it was, in London. Right? There was that video way back when the pandemic started. Okay. There was that one where that electrician guy, I think it was, who was saying, who was on part of the build team, and saying they were absolutely expecting a phenomenal death rate. What happened with these Nightingales? Why are they all shut down? What's going on here? I just put it to you, dear viewer, that this is quite possibly something going on. Right? These NHS staff who are being laid off, that's going to strain the NHS. You've got people who aren't getting access to mental health treatment who are now flying off the top of car parks, who are now expiring. You've got people who now can't get heart treatment, cancer treatment, right, and other necessary care, who are now, well, they're spiriting off the planet, aren't they? And my heart goes out to those people and to the people who are affected. And like I said, I'm not denying that this thing exists. Alright? Definitely not denying that. But I want to see correct figures. And isn't it funny how in the last, say, 3 or 4 weeks before Christmas and New Year, well, of course cases are up on the rise because more and more people are fucking testing. Alright? So you're testing for something on the basis you might not have. Right? You're testing even though you don't have symptoms. Because a lot of people are saying that this shit is asymptomatic. Right? So they're testing, getting positive results, and then isolating for 10 days. And that now is reportable figures. But how many of these people are getting seriously ill? How many of these people are dying from this, directly from it? Let's rule out everything else. How many people directly are falling from this? I just put to you something else. Right? What happens then if you know full well that you can get 10 days of full pay if you test for this and you get positive? All right, so you take a swab. I did one before on my on this channel with a beer opening. I did it. Took one. All right, so what you do is you take your test and then you ring the NHS number and quote the serial number on the test. All right, well, I report a negative result. What happens to people then that say, right, well, I don't want to go into work then, so I'm going to fucking report positive one, knowing that they get 10 days of full pay? What then? Because this is going to fuck the economy in a big, big way. Well, it already has, and it's continuing to do it. What then? Right? You do away with furlough, but yeah, okay, well, fine. You test positive for it. 10 days full pay. So all you do then is what supposedly people are doing, is they're taking these tests and then ringing up and saying, look, I'm fucking positive. I have to isolate for 10 days. Convenient over Christmas, isn't it? So all the science is completely wrong. At least in this respect. Why are we not being served this information? Why is it, as well, that these pharma companies that manufacture these vaccines, and this is a big one here, Pfizer, Moderna, and BioNTech, okay, they're not releasing the source code for how they synthesize the viruses or the vaccines. They're not releasing any ingredients, and they're certainly not releasing any technical information. And they're trying to get this on a retainer for 55 years. So you don't even know what's in this. And you're expected to just rock up to something that's very little known about, where there's not enough research and data on this, and not only just take one jab, but now you've got to have 3 and possibly a 4th one, which is being proposed for about March to April time. From my resources are going to say there's another injection coming sometime after between February and April. Why? Okay, why is your immune system not suitable enough? And yeah, there are more and more people now that are actually getting these fucking symptoms because of the old Sajid Jabbit, the old Jabbit. So many things here aren't fucking adding up, and I want answers. Public inquiry, this. This is a public inquiry. What's going on? I want the figures because I do come from a heavily scientific background. Not just electronics and computers. I actually have studied an element of virology. And I certainly do know a reasonable amount of biomedicine and biomechanics in terms of microbiology. I know enough. I know enough to interpret data. I'm not saying I'm any expert, but I know enough. I know enough how to read a scientific paper and to know when something is factual or not. I also know when something in a system will work or not. The whole handling of it is open to too much, should we say, corruption. It's not accurate enough. None of it. Now, like I said, my heart goes out to people who have died of this, from it, and as any result of it. My heart goes out to people who have died full stop. And to their family. But it's about time we get to the bottom of this for once and for fucking all. Because I've had enough. Social distancing hasn't worked. Masks haven't worked. Lockdowns haven't worked. Vaccines? Crackscenes? Well, it's not working, is it? According to their figures. So something's wrong. What is going on? I want answers, please. Right, public inquiry this now, so Boris and the likes of you lot better answer this. Want answers. Yet you're told to go out there and wear a mask, okay? Thing around your face. You see, people don't have their fucking little noses exposed. People that have them around their chins. People that have these things dangling off their fucking ears. See it all the time. People who then, when they want to talk, they're touching the mask. So any contaminants now on their hands. Are they changing the masks? No, they just put them back up. So not only they've now touched it, but now whatever's on their hands is on their hands at concentrated levels. Right? You've now got concentrated particulate matter on a surface of something that you've now just handled. So whatever germs and bacteria is on the surface of that is now at levels that are potentially hazardous to health and safety. But yet you're told to keep on with these masks. 95% of people don't know how to handle them. Are people running around with gloves on? Well, no, they're not. It's all not adding up. And by the way, for the record about these masks, right? You're on about something that's essentially made of paper or whatever, trying to stop a biosafety level at minimum 2 or 3 pathogen. Okay? I'll show you something now. Two things that you can use that will provide better protection. It's no means guaranteed, because you can't guarantee it, but it's better. One is a military issue. This is an older mask unit. The filter is, however, rated, and it is newer. These have to be serviced very regularly. All right? That's what you're talking of. All right? That's one option. More commercially available, you get these. All right? So it also has your splash protection on it. But you'll notice the cartridges here. These are activated charcoal and 95 filters. All right? You stand much better protection with that. Yeah, you're told to just either do that or wear these little paper masks. To me, I see that as nothing more of a comfort item, like a child relates to a security blanket. It's just an element of hope, something that you cling to while at the same time you are brought under control and to make you scared. Because the truth is of it, if you really wanted to stop something, we have more than enough manufacturing capability in this country to produce this stuff. More than enough. We have polycarbonate, we know how to make rubber here, and these filters we could make. So why are we not doing that? And for people who are not jabbed, well, it's easy to say then, isn't it? Okay, well, if you're an NHS worker then, just wear one of these. You're better off. Think about it. This isn't rocket science. Well, obviously. It's epidemiology and bioscience. But the point is, most of these people, all right, that are wearing these masks, they're constantly touching them. They're not disinfecting their hands every time they touch it. So they're rendering the whole thing as completely fucking useless anyway. Why is this even necessary to explain? But to make matters worse, this isn't just a respiratory illness. This is something that can be picked up by contact. Yeah, no shit. So if you have encountered anything, not only now have you touched something with your hands on a contaminated mask at concentrated levels, you got this shit on your eyes, so now you start rubbing your fucking eyes, don't you? Or touching other objects if someone else will come along and touch it. It's fucking astonishing, it really is. Absolutely astonishing. Social distancing as well. Doesn't work, does it? The social distancing aspect, though, in terms of businesses, that's even worse. Because that's limiting floor space, so you're limiting people there. All right, Alex Belfield on his channel, he went to a West End London restaurant, and even he said, fuck me, 70 to 80% of the restaurant is virtually empty. Or is empty. All right? I myself went to Sheffield today. There's nobody doing anything. Even the local fucking supermarket where I go, I was there at 6 o'clock. In the last working week up till Christmas, you would expect it to be heaving. It was no different to any other average evening. So this is having a massive effect, and not for anything good. I can assure you. It's not happening, is it? It's not working. Meanwhile, you have to take a vaccine for something that realistically is not killing you. To get tested for something that, well, if you're not ill, then why would you be testing for it? Unless, of course, you're after chasing figures. Unless you're after box ticking. Why would you check for something if you're not symptomatic? It's brain dead. If you're asymptomatic, why would you need to test for it? Unless, of course, you want 10 days of paid leave. Alright. I need to see figures now of people who are testing and genuinely are ill. Of people who report and test and isolate, how many of these people are getting seriously ill? How many people are ending up on life support with it? Why, as well, this is a fucking big one. Why then, last year, was our ventilators being sent overseas for? You know, after the whole, well, let's get rid of the Nightingales. All the ventilators. What's going on there then? All the manufacturers. Even myself was trying to contribute to the effort of 3D printing equipment. I was put on standby 3 times in case I was needed for engineering purposes. Where's the effort? Where's all the materials gone? Where's the fucking money gone? I want answers for it. I think I know what it's come down to. I think I do. Let's see the first slide, please. Let's get to the slides. Well, yeah, okay. I've got one here which I've done that explains how this government has behaved. It's Dunning-Kruger effect. Right. And yeah, I happen to also know a fair amount of psychology as well. Shit, hang on. I need to try and do this in a workable way while I'm smoking and drinking, so multitasking for me might be a problem here. Fuck it, it is. Right. Dunning-Kruger effect. What we have, amount of knowledge. Right? How much somebody thinks they knows. The reality of it over the bottom. Well, the government are up here then, at peak stupidity. Right? All of a sudden, they've taken the advice on people that got their facts and figures wrong, that may or may not have agendas. Straight away, government are up here. Well, we're in control, therefore we know everything. Well, the reality is, no, you don't, because you're right down here where it says they know nothing. Right? For you to get out of this, you have to go through what's called the valley of despair. Right? And that's something I had to go through. That starts with, yeah, accepting you are wrong. Accepting that your figures are wrong. Accepting the fact that you fucked up. Something which Boris and something which a lot of these advisors still can't do. And yet they're still convinced they're right. Right? So your knowledge decreases. Right? To get to something called competence, you need to go through a period of learning. That's understanding the facts and extrapolating the correct data and being able to work with correct figures. Only then can your knowledge truly increase. And only at the end of it, you're a guru, but that's ongoing. Where does the knowledge end? Well, it doesn't. It's like even in what I do. Right? I'm pretty good. I know a fair amount of what I'm about. I would say I'm pretty good. I know a bit. Certainly no expert. That's because I know the scope of where I am. I would argue I'm competent. I know my science to a competent level. Right? I can understand facts. And I can admit when I'm wrong. I have no problem with that. And it's interesting to note that on my channel, not many people have debunked me yet. But if I am wrong on something, I will admit that. That's the point. Dunning-Kruger effect is what we have. And these people just can't bear to admit they're fucking wrong. Omicron isn't yielding the results that they want or expect. And this is a fundamental problem with science. When you go after something that you expect or want, then that's not scientific. All right? The basic principle of science is this. You have a hypothesis, all right? You run it. You run the model. You test it to see if it's broken. You make your modifications to it with various models simultaneously, and you test it. You look for validity and veracity, all the while you're testing it on the pretext it's broken. When you start seeing data that corroborates and that is consistent, then you can start to form a working hypothesis of what you might think will be an outcome based upon that. But at no point do you go after a result or a particular outcome, because by doing so, your efforts wouldn't even be, well, it wouldn't even be honest. Your endeavours would be dishonest. And the government are going only after their projections without any real fact. They're wrong 34.5 times, just on the basis of 3 weeks. 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Right? You take a shot, do so to protect Granny. Listen, Granny's already fucking vaccinated. Right? 80%, 90% of people in this country are, according to even Sajid Javid. Right? According to him. But now, stupidly, even more unbelievable now, we're going to blame the unvaccinated for the problems that's still going on. Why? It's brain dead. How can 10% of a population still be responsible for 90% more of a problem, right, when those who are vaccinated are still having the problem? Think about this. All the while you're putting something into you that you don't know anything about. That brings me to the whole footballers then. Why are they now dropping dead? You've got opera singers, all right? There was one that Alex Belfield covered. Spanish guy, I think he was. Latino or Spanish, something like that. In a coma in Manchester Hospital. He was double jabbed and died. And peace be with him, and I hope that he rests well. I hope that he flies safe. Right, opera singers, their lung function is incredible. Professional singer. Incredibly fit. Right, looked after himself. Trimmed body. Double jab, died. How and why? Footballers having heart attacks now. How and why? And a lot of people who I've spoken to that have taken the clot shot, they've reported the facts. 3 people who I know permanently now, by the looks of this, will lose their sense of taste and smell as a result. How and why? I need answers to this, because it's all pointing towards this. We say next slide, please. I've not even prepared one, have I? Next slide, please, is what the government say. I've got one for it. I'm going to have to just quickly draw it out. No, that looks like something else, but it is a middle finger. I didn't draw that particularly well, so we'll disregard that then. So the next slide is as if they can slide on and bring me the correct figures. Let's reevaluate that, please. Correct. something that looks like that would be a good starting point. I want the correct information, please. I need to see how much has been spent publicly, where that money's gone, who it's gone to. I need to see who's benefited from this. I need to know what materials have been spent on. People that are now forced out of NHS positions. I need to see what's happening with them, please. It's about time we have a fucking sensible discussion. Right? And it's about time that we start discussing why the mainstream media are not covering certain events like what happened in London. I need to start seeing this. Right? I need to see why these events are not being publicised, yet fear and compliance is being driven in. Why? I want the facts and figures, please. Public inquiry now. Right, I'm asking the questions of it. And I'm asking that not just as public, but I'm asking it as a scientist myself. I'm asking that. If anybody out there is willing to provide me the correct facts and figures, that doesn't involve an element of Dunning-Kruger, I will be willing to listen. Right? I want a complete breakdown of all of this, and I also want the complete factual ingredients and a full scientific study of the safety and efficacy of these vaccines. I want that. I want that, please, within 28 days. This is now a public matter. It's actually a public health requirement. Because I'm actually now going to get to the worst perspective part of this all. And this is where we really do have a problem, I'm afraid. Let me just pause while I fix myself something a little bit stronger, because this is really important. 1 minute. Okay. The biggest problem now that we have, and it's a head spinner. People don't trust this government with what's gone on. And that in itself is dangerous, particularly with what we've got. One major issue that we now have is simply this. People are going to say now that an element of wolf crying has been done. And it has, so too many people have cried wolf over this. Well, there's only so many times that you can cry wolf before something really fucking bad does go down. Right? You've all heard of the child story of the boy who cried wolf. Right? Everybody goes, first of all, thinking, well, there's the big bad wolf, there it is, and no, the boy just did it for, essentially, attention. Well, so the story transpires is, eventually, the boy cries wolf the final time, and the wolf appears. And the boy gets eaten. Well, the moral of the story is, the more you whip everybody up into a frenzy and into a fucking panic, and things don't happen, well, people then are going to start to disregard you and start to see you as Dunning-Kruger. And they're not going to trust science. Well, one day, something fucking bad will happen. And history shows it. One day something really fucking bad will go down. And it'll be a case of the government will say, and these ministers will say, well, we're really serious this time. People will say, what, like you were all the rest of the time, and not listen. I think you can see what will happen there. And that is bad. So for the matter of this public inquiry, I'll put it to you then, dear viewer, that this government is technically endangering the public. It's technically an endangerment. The prospect of that horrifies me. God knows what will happen. And let's just say then that all these people that were forced and coerced into taking these clot shots, crack scenes as I call them, because if you take it you'll crack up and die. Alright. What happens then, in 55 years when it emerges that there's real problems with this, or even at any point? Well, once this whole COVID thing is swept under the rug and done and dusted in maybe 5 or 10 years, what's it then going to be put down to? An attack on your food? Well, now we need restrictions on food because all these heart-related issues are caused by diet, so let's now go after your food as well. Is that what's going to happen? Is it? Because I'm struggling to see the truth and the logic. Struggling to see the truth and the logic of what we're being told. To take a vaccine for something that may or may not make you ill, that statistically has less than 2% chance of killing you, but yet the most vulnerable are already vaccinated for it. Right. And what happens then if this was crying wolf? Because that's not something you can get out of you. Well, you can, I suppose, if you die, but that's a little bit of a drastic way of doing it. It's the concerns I have, and like I said, I'm not anti-vax. I'm just for the truth. I want people to know the truth. And that ain't it. And let's use this as a fact of not listening to a corrupt Boris Johnson, who's quite frankly an embarrassment and a mess. Right. 2 health ministers that can't get their facts straight, one who's also, fornicating, and Professor Pantsdown as a starting point. Let's try that one. Let's get rid of the shit clowns and let's start again. Right? Let's actually start again. But you can't really run with Labour anyhow. Labour are the fuckers also endorsing more of this lockdown. Right? Wonder why. Is this a case of then buying up holdings into private companies, bankrupt the common ones, and then reopen up when they're all gone with your own state-branded stuff? Could it be that? Could it be? Want answers? Want answers, want figures, want the truth, please. And no more shushy shushy. It's time for a lot of speaky speaky. Anywho, I think 50 minutes of this is plenty enough. I want out. I've got other things I need to be doing and needing to look at. Okay, like I said, pro-truth. Take medicine if you need it. Take the vaccine if you need it. Take the tests if you feel you need to take the tests. Be understanding of the facts with the masks, though. Now you know at least what you really need to actually protect yourself. And yeah, try not to listen to alarmist language in the media. Try not to. Again, thank you all. Stay safe, and hopefully Santa will be visiting you in your living room, and he will empty his sack in your living room and give you all the things you want. All the while he's going to nick your pies and your liquor. Hopefully Santa will empty his sack nicely for you and give you what you want. And I'm perfectly certain that a certain, well, should we say, lady of point may well end up with another child, I'm sure. Isn't that right, Boris? I wonder what Santa has in the sack for her. Anyway, I could have too much fun with this. I'm out of here. Stay safe. Love you all. And I'll be putting out another video imminently. That's my rant done. I'm out of here. Be good. Love you, Jackie. Keep up good work. And again to all my new subbers. Truth will prevail. Do what you got to do and just stay safe. Don't go near Dunning-Kruger effect. Good chat. Peace out.